Runs on the board for England, 337 of those. They'd be happy with that after winning the toss and putting an impressive performance against the strongest bowling attack in this World Cup thus far. 160 of those came from the bats of Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow up front. And Bairstow went on to score his 8th ODI 100, his first in World Cup cricket, his first against India, and a blazing 79 of 54 from Ben Stokes, giving them just the finish in spite of Jasprit Bumrah's rather economical finish of 1 for 44 and Mohammad Shami's debut 5-wicket haul in ODI cricket. He backs up 2 4-wicket hauls with a 5-fer, but will India have their work cut out with 337 to get? We'll find out as we look back at that innings with Graeme Swann and Mel Farrell in Edgbaston and Dan Vettori and Murali Kartik in studio. Okay, England happy with that? Murali Kartik?
Should be very happy. Possibly another 20-30 runs they can get greedy because of the fact that the kind of start they got, they would be thinking were we possibly 20-25 runs short.
You can almost assume that the sort of pace that Roy and Bairstow go with is not sustainable for 50 overs, in which case that 400 that we thought might happen when they were going at 116, 20 overs or so would not have come. So is this India saying, oh, they could have got to 400 or 370 and we're still in the game, or is 337 again above par for you?
It's a very good score. I think the first 10 overs were tricky. I think Shami and Bumrah bowled really well. Charles spun the ball, so England were 47 for none, I think, after 10 overs. So they actually got through that period, assessed it was going to be tricky, but once they were in, they just went. And all this England team needs is the inclusion of Jason Roy, and they're ready to go because he takes all the pressure off everyone, it seams like. Goes out there and plays his game, and they've got a fantastic score.
It wasn't without a little bit of luck, and but for a review call that India chose not to take on at that point against Jason Roy, it could have been a different story. But fact is, Jason Roy has come back with a bang. Partnership of 160 that really got England underway. And how important would this have been just to settle things in that England dressing room? I think that's the first point that we'll take with Mel Farrell and Graeme Swann. So let's move over to Edgbaston. 160 is the highest opening stand as well in World Cup cricket for England. Right, Mel? I'm sure Swanny's got plenty to say. All yours.
Well, you always have plenty to say, but we were talking before about there being 3 real phases to that innings, weren't there?
Well, yeah, obviously the opening partnership, Roy and Bairstow, was magnificent. They got a base, and then after Jason Roy got away with the caught behind down the leg touch, should have walked, by the way, rather see him walk, he went ballistic. And the trick is, when Roy got out, England, by sending in Joe Root, actually stymied Johnny Bairstow. Johnny Bairstow needs a guy at the other end who can still blast boundaries. That takes the pressure off him. The fact that Joe Root was there scoring at a runner ball actually added to the pressure. I could see it coming. Johnny got tied down, was trying to hit the ball too hard, which is strange for somebody who's already got 100, then got out. Honestly, I think England missed a trick. At that point, they were that far ahead of the game. I'd have sent in Jos Buttler. Jos Buttler has been very deeply underused in this tournament, especially because the Indian bowlers know about Jos. Jos knows about them. He's absolutely cleaned up in the IPL. Get him in there with 30 overs, I think England could have pushed on to a much bigger total. As it was, that 15 overs really did. It was good captaincy from Kohli, by the way. He squeezed well, put the spinners back on, who'd been very expensive. He didn't have someone like Dan Vettori to turn to, obviously, who's the best spinner ever to play the game, in my humble opinion. But at the end, Ben Stokes is brilliant. He's in lovely form at the moment. 337 is a decent score, but from the position they were in, I agree absolutely with the studio, 30 short.
And Ben Stokes too, he's had to be the glue in tricky situations a lot of times. Today we sort of saw him play that other role when Root was going a bit slowly.
Well, that's right. With Stokes, I mean, he came back from a long period outside of the game and was awful with the bat, let's face it. For a long time in the IPL, he was dreadful. He takes a long time to get in form, but he's peaked at the right time in this World Cup. He's played some brilliant innings, being the glue, as you say, in most occasions, but today just taking the Indians on. His was a very good knock to rescue what was a faltering England innings.
Now, how do you think England need to bowl to India after seeing what happened there? And before you start, don't drop your mic because
we're on concrete this
time.
We're
on concrete this time, and they're very expensive.
Well, ideally, England would have 2 spinners to actually apply pressure in that middle period that would make it very tricky for India. They don't have that, so they have to try and get wickets early on. They have to bowl fairly full, even though it's a double-edged sword on this pitch, because it is good for driving on. If you've just bowled slightly back of a length, like Jasprit Bumrah did early on, it's very hard to score if you keep straight. And new batsmen find it very hard to get going. So the whole key for England in this chase is to take wickets at regular intervals. For India, bat around Virat Kohli.
Do you think we might see Joe Root roll his arm over a bit?
I think we will see Joe Root roll his arm over.
Well, that's always good fun, isn't it? Just another thing, guys, too. KL Rahul, you might have noticed he went off there clutching his hip at one point. Well, we've been told by India management that he can bat anywhere. It's an external injury, so that's not an issue. But they haven't said where he will bat. So just not sure how he's recovered from that back sort of niggle he seemed to pick up.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for that, Mel Farrell and Graeme Swann. Let's pick up from what they've said. Swann, you also think that England had the chance perhaps to outbat India from this game, and that's a chance that's not being taken. How much of that do you attribute to those 14, 15 overs in the middle when you saw the wicket of Bairstow fall, followed by Owen Morgan? Was that a key sort of return for India into this innings for you, Dan Vettori?
Yeah, they bowl well. I think that's the other part of it, that India are an exceptional bowling attack, and even though there was that partnership that started off so well, I think India have the calibre of bowlers that they can come back into it. I thought Swanee's point was a good one, actually, around Buttler to come in at 3. And the planning of that is easier said than done. You're up in the dressing room, you've got to think through a lot of things. Obviously, Root's had a great tournament so far, so all that's going on.
And Stokes has given them runs at 5, but even if he comes in when Stokes has come in the 34th over, you're still giving him a better chance of facing 50 balls. If Buttler faces 50 balls, he can get 100, not like Stokes.
I sort of preferred it 3. I think 3 sounds better than 5 in a lot of ways because of that start that they got. You always knew that he had Stokes, Morgan at the back end of it, even Root at the back end of it. So I like the play. That would have been interesting to see because we know how Buttler plays. He would have come in and been aggressive, and Swanee's right. The Indian bowlers would have been nervous about bowling to him because he's so aggressive.
Would that be a fair call as a bowler if you see Joe Root walking in at that point, as good a player as he is, but he sort of is the anticlimax to the tempo that Roy and Bairstow have set. With him, Owen Morgan and Stokes, who also took his time, would you rather feel, I'd rather bowl to these guys than Jos Buttler, who might take me on immediately?
Yeah, completely agree. I think when you have such a start, when you're trying, as a bowler, sometimes when you have batsmen like that, you're trying to give a single and bowl to the other guy. But if 2 guys are going at from both ends, then you're actually looking for whom to bowl to or whom not to bowl to. So at that stage, if you get a wicket and somebody like a Joe Root walks in, it's always good for a bowler that he knows that, okay, I can get a few dot balls in.
Yeah.
So if, on the other hand, somebody like a Jos Buttler walks in, you realize, oh no, there were 2 guys going, now the 3rd guy is also going to have a go. So that makes a huge difference, especially the kind of start they had and the kind of wicket. Root could have always come in if they had an early wicket, but at that stage, possibly around the 24th, 25th over, 2 guys walking in, one after the other. If you have guys going at you, it's very, very tough to... You don't get into an offensive mode. You again are defensive as a bowling unit. As a captain, you're thinking, oh, let me protect because we've already leaked so many runs.
Yeah, I mean, you could see that when Kuldeep Yadav and Yuzvendra Chahal were both taken on early on, you felt like Virat Kohli was wondering where he's going to fill his overs from. As it turned out, Hardik Pandya has done him a huge favour by managing 10 overs at a run a ball. But we are to look at this bowling attack, which we've touted as the most impressive in this World Cup because of the numbers that they've had. The difference between Jasprit Bumrah and the rest of the bowlers is something that India can perhaps, I mean, it's a conversation that we know we can have many times. In the last 10 overs, Bumrah has bowled 5 of those, gone for 26 and taken a wicket. The other bowlers have gone for 65 from those 5. That includes Mohammad Shami, I think, for 3, Hardik for 1 and Chahal for 1. Now, are you looking at that and saying that's good on Kohli to keep Bumrah for 5 at the end to mitigate damage? Or would you rather have used him any differently to greater impact?
I presume he kept the 5 at the end for Buttler. I think they're so nervous about what Buttler can do in that back end and how aggressive he can be that let's leave our best bowler. And I mean, wherever you use Bumrah, he's just fantastic, and he can perform.
You know, we can bowl 15 overs, but
maybe they'll even 10 at the death, just to really go for it. Look, I think the hardest bit is around the expectation of your spinners, and for them to go for 160 off their 20 overs was not something that anyone expected. So I think Kohli had to manage his bowlers in a different way. He kept trying to use the spinners, albeit them being expensive, but I think in the back of their mind, Bumrah's our guy. Do we hold on to him and save him from as long as we can?
Yeah, this is talk we had before game as well, Kartik, that because Mohammad Shami is becoming a sort of a strike bowler, it almost allows Kohli the luxury to use Bumrah differently. He comes in the 33rd and 35th overs and gets the wickets of Bairstow and Owen Morgan, which is sort of where you see Aaron Finch bring Mitchell Starc or bring Mohammad Amir back. So does that then say that, does that tell you Kohli's done a good job of managing his bowlers, ensuring that Shami and Bumrah are split? and everyone else tries to bowl around them?
Yeah, look, you've got good bowlers, so you want to try and use them to the best possible option. For me, I possibly thought in the middle when the openers were going great guns, could he have tried one over of Bumrah or a couple of overs of Bumrah at that point of time? Again, this was something which I was talking to Dan Vettori off air. With the spinners as well, yes, you are wicket-taking bowlers, but sometimes when the batsman's having a go at you, could you rather not bring your length back, possibly change your trajectory a bit, because they were allowing them to run at them. Because sometimes on a good track, you try and think that you're going to beat the man in the air. It doesn't happen. You keep getting hit. That's exactly what was happening. Every time they connected the ball, it was going out of the park. So in the middle, could they have had a chat? Because I'm pretty sure MSD is very good with that. MSD wants to get a work done, but if the captain wants you to do something different, could the spinners have done something differently? I felt they could have done something differently over there, with the captain going and saying, don't be too ultra aggressive, try and just play a bit of defensive game for a bit.
I'm quite intrigued by that. Maybe we'll carry this on a little longer as to how India spinners reacted to serious aggression. First time they've seen it in this tournament. Chahal, I get the impression, is the kind of bowler that if he's going for runs, he goes for plenty on the day. You work closely with him. What happens when sort of Chahal gets hit for a few early? Do you tend to think then that this is going to be a long day, or is there a way to sort of come back?
I think his default position is to attack, and I think that's the license that's been given to him by Kohli and the rest of the Indian management. And they will take an expensive spell as long as there's wickets, and that was the thing that they didn't see today, is that there were no wickets. I mean, Chahal, it's very unusual for him not to take a wicket, and Kuldeep only taking one. So they're almost a victim of their own success in terms of let's be aggressive all the time, and more often than not it's work. But Kartik's right. I think in big games you've got to assess the situation, just like we expect batsmen to assess situations. We need spinners to assess it as well. And
he's ended up conceding the most expensive spell for India in World Cup cricket, going past Javagal Srinath against Australia in 2003. But the other argument is Kuldeep Yadav, 46 of his first 4. Then he's given 26 of his last 6 and taken a wicket. Now, is that just down to the tempo that England played at that time, or is it down to Kuldeep bowling better?
And the fact that he got that wicket. He got that wicket of Jason Roy, and thanks to a stunning catch. I don't know anyone else who could have made that and make it look so ridiculously easy. But I think that allowed him to come back. Sometimes, like the other day, Rashid was going at quite a few and over, and then MSD came in, and it allowed him to get his analysis back on track. So that's why the point Swanee and Dan were making about Josh Butler coming in at number 3, the analysis could have looked completely different. So sometimes it's the batsman you're bowling to as well, in the mood they are in and what you're trying to do. But on the other hand, look, most of the quality spinners are attacking bowlers. But sometimes that doesn't mean that you have to attack every time, because when it's not your day and when the batsman's having an answer for everything you put at him, you have to fall back onto something defensive, because it's that kind of a format. It's that kind of a format where you need to back up to come back again. If you're trying to be too ultra-aggressive, thinking, this is the way I bowl and this is the way then you're going for plenty of runs.
Okay, forgettable day for Yuzvendra Chahal, perhaps even for Kuldeep Yadav. But England have just the one spinner. We'll talk about the chase and plenty more with Dan and Kartik on the other side of the break. Stay with us on ESPNcricinfo Matchday.
Introducing Sunil Valsan, left-arm pacer, check. Part of India's squad of 83, check. Played international cricket. Valsan did fly to England as part of India's squad for 1983, but Kapil couldn't find a place for him in the playing 11 for even a single match. He returned with the famous team as a World Cup winner, but was never picked for India again.
.338 then to get for India to seriously send some nervous thoughts down the rest of the United Kingdom, with where England stand precariously on the points table, but they'd feel happy that they've got some decent runs to bowl at. It'll take some getting to, and as we go to our Hotstar top comment of this match, we'll also focus on the chase with Murali Kartik, Dan Vettori and Graeme Swann with Mel Farrell. Ajay from Mumbai says, I like the fact that Pant is in for Vijay Shankar. The way England have batted so far looks like a pitch where it makes sense to pick the better batsman if you have to make a choice. Now let's not get into that debate because Murali Kartik, Dan Vettori are divided on the quality of batting, but let's just go straight on the conditions. Let's go back to Mel and Swanee. It does look like a slightly flat pitch, maybe just a coincidence that England got this at this stage, Graeme Swann. But Mel, thoughts on Rishabh Pant and where Swanee would like to see him bat?
Hang on a second, I'm just going to pull you up there. Coincidence, we've had sunshine. We finally had sun after we've had a month of almost
It's
non-stop
always sunny
rain.
in England, come on. That was very unusual, that month's worth of rain in 4 days.
But that, obviously, they have had sun here, and so it is. He's looking flatter. It is looking better for batting than perhaps it has done in other days. So is that enough? Do you think what England have got there, and how do they make it enough?
9 times out of 10, that is definitely enough. If you bowl well, you should be able to defend that. The massive factor for India and for the chase is Virat Kohli for me. He's got a wonderful record chasing, as we all know, and a very good record against England. He thrives, like Aaron Finch does against English bowlers. He does very well. One of the good things going for England, Adil Rashid has got him out a couple of times, and if only there was the other spinner at the other end to apply the pressure to make him more effective. With the Indian spinners, when they were going round the park, that was purely the mindset of the English batsmen. We're going to attack their small boundaries, we'll chance our arm a bit. Kohli did really well because when Roy got out, he knew that would change automatically and you could steal some overs back. The spinners then want to bowl at the new batsman, and they did well to pull their figures back. England are just going to have to keep chivying away, picking up wickets. Don't forget Rohit Sharma at the top as well. I mean, it's a formidable batting lineup. Just for the record, I'd much rather Rishabh Pant not be playing this game. But English bowlers don't want to bowl at him. He's a superb player. So hopefully he's a bit rusty. He's only been in the nets. He'll use up 25 balls, put pressure on Kohli. He'll get out, win by 100 runs. Country goes mad. World Cup's coming home.
Oh, there you go. Well, I'm not going to say anything more because Swanee's just told the future.
You can't. I'll just replay this after India managed the chase in 44 overs. But many thanks to Mel Farrell and Graeme Swann. We'll continue hearing thoughts from them at the end of this game. Graeme Swann, always something to put a smile on our face. We saw that graphic of the highest successful chases for India. It saw a 351 that was against England at Pune when Kedar Jadhav got 100 to remember. So they have this team has had a taste of high-scoring chases. The outfielding seemed to make a big call on a flat sort of pitch today. The sort of catching India put on, but for the odd blip in the outfield, catching was as good as you've seen in a while. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Seriously, Kedar Jadhav took a good catch. That was actually a swirler, which was brilliant. Set off by that stunner from Ravindra Jadeja. Just the way it was travelling and the way he travelled, I don't think anyone else would have made it. I'm pretty sure someone else would have made it as well. But he made it look very easy. Hardik Pandya took a few good catches. So yeah, all in all, the catching was outstanding. But what about the hits? Some of the hits were just looking as if they didn't hit the centre of the bat, but still carried a long way. So it is good from an Indian point of view that the wicket's good. But again, it'll be interesting if KL Rahul doesn't open, who opens? Who will open? Is it Virat Kohli who comes in as an opener?
Who are you sending? Are you sending Virat or are you sending Pant?
Let's send Rishabh Pant, since everybody's talking so highly about him.
Oh, Lord Kartik. I know what you're doing here. 27 fours and 13 sixes, if I've got the math right.
Number 4 went to number 1. So number 4 should again go to number 1.
Yes. Dan Vettori, KL Rahul, if he's not batting, Kohli or Rishabh Pant?
I think KL will open, so I don't want to enter the debate.
No point getting into the debate. Like I said, 37 boundaries in that England innings. It's effectively getting a boundary for a large part of that innings. Let's see how hard India go at the beginning. This is where we leave our viewers in the Caribbean. Viewers on ESPNcricinfo, stay with us. Live action coming up for all those in those parts of the world. 338 is India's target. It looks a flat pitch. India have gone with some exciting batsmen. Should make for a cracking game even if India are to get close. Viewers on ESPNcricinfo, stay right with us because we're not leaving Dan and Kartik just yet. We've got a few more questions that we'd like to ask them. Maybe we'll go on till a time that we actually see KL Rahul bat if he comes out, and if he doesn't, that itself gives us a few conversations. In some ways, it may be a good thing for India, who've only chased once in this tournament so far, Dan, to actually have a target in mind. This is something they've not quite been tested with, to get a 300 plus score.
Well, I actually think it's perfect for KL Rahul because he's probably played in a cautious manner at the start of his innings so far, and when you're chasing a score like this, you need an opening start. We know Rohit Sharma's going to get through a cautious start as well, so if KL can come out there and have the score in front of him, play towards that score and be aggressive, then I think that'll help him, and also because he's a stroke maker, and when he's not a stroke maker, it doesn't look right. So I want to see him come out there and play that natural game, and having chasing 330 could allow him to do that.
Yeah, number 3 on that list of lowest strike rate,
all of them are openers.
First, yes.
All of them are openers, and it tells you a story as well, that it's not been easy, because you're talking about the fact that 250, 260 are good enough. Everybody, or most of the openers, have possibly been told, we don't want you to lose your wickets. It's okay if you take some time, but let's keep wickets intact, especially with the first 10. So it can't be uncanny that all of them are openers, and then and all the batsmen pick up their scoring rates. All of them are openers over there.
Is the selection of Liam Plunkett for Moeen Ali, leaving the extra spinner out, looking like a good selection after the first 50 overs? Just if you were to think about that, so did I get this selection right?
I suppose you have to be slightly more in depth and say the English management would look at Moeen Ali against all the Indian batsmen, and it must be something to do with that he hasn't done that well. I know he's done well in test matches against India, but in the one-day format, they look at the small nature of the boundaries as well, a right-handed dominant Indian batting lineup. I think all those things combined would have meant that they want Plunkett to run in bowl bounces, and that's what he's done for the last sort of 3 or 4 years, and he's done it very effectively. They've got 4 bowlers who can do that, possibly 5 bowlers who can do that with Stokes. So it's definitely a game plan, and they'll use Rashid mix and match. I don't think they expect Rashid to get through 10 overs against India, but they'll use him as an attacking weapon.
All right, well, let's also now show you a little more some sights and sounds of the United Kingdom. We've been following it with Isha Acton, who's with our Visit Britain winner, Veronica Jose.
Hey guys, it's me, Isha, here in Birmingham for the ESPNcricinfo Visit Britain Biggest Fan Challenge. I travel for the unexpected, and what an unexpected way to start my day here at Cadbury World in Birmingham. Well, now it's a bit of a history lesson for you. We're going to go back in time and see how the people of Birmingham lived during the Victorian era. Well, Veronica, I think we've seen enough of Birmingham on foot. Time to travel on some water. We're here at Marco Pierre White's flagship restaurant. It's on the 25th floor at the Cube, Birmingham, and we're in for a lavish culinary experience. Can't wait to get inside. To the Bear Grylls adventure we've just had, come 30th of June, we're going to see a lot of adrenaline, a lot of thrill, a lot of excitement here at Edgbaston in Birmingham. Isha. It's me, Isha, in Birmingham for the ESPNcricinfo Visit Britain Biggest Fan Challenge. I travel for the unexpected, and what an unexpected adventure we've had here in Birmingham. I hope you guys stay tuned to all of the action. Until next time, it's a bye from me.
All right, that was Isha Acton along with Veronica Jones, the winner of ESPNcricinfo's Visit Britain Biggest Fan Challenge, going around Birmingham and exploring the best that the city has to offer: food, jewellery and that slight adrenaline rush. Many thanks to Isha. Final gut feels from Murali Kartik and Dan Vettori. I'll stop calling it predictions, just gut feels from the cricketers. Are India going to get this, get close? Rahul has come out to bat, so that point is taken care of. Kartik?
I think it's a tough chase, and I said England. I still feel England.
Very well. Daniel Vettori?
I've got no idea.
No idea? You don't know if it's going to work or not? That's a great way to end it. Honest as always, Dan. Thank you very much to Dan Vettori and Murali Kartik. Get their thoughts as well as Graeme Swann's with Mel Farrell's on our post-match show. Chase already underway. So enjoy it and we'll review it all on ESPNcricinfo Matchday UK 2019.